Today we're going to make a folded hem, and this particular one I'm going to use to make for the brim of a hat. And the reason I want it to be a folded hem is because I prefer a really stretchy brim so that I don't have a cast on row as my initial row of the brim of a hat. So if I make a fold over hem, as you can see, it becomes just really nice and stretchy. So what I've done so far is I've knit a couple rows in waste yarn, and then I changed to my the gray yarn, and I've done a 1x1 ribbing. Okay, so it's nice and stretchy, and you generally want to make, since it's a folded hem, you generally want to make the ribbing, or whatever border you're using, twice the length of what you want the end result to be. So for example, if I want the brim of my hat to be 1 inch of ribbing, I would want to knit 2 inches of ribbing total. And now that I've knit 2 inches of ribbing, we're going to turn it around, and I'm going to move all of the stitches that are in the first row of gray yarn. I'm going to move them all to a spare needle. And then I'll remove the waste yarn. So I have a spare needle now that's 2 sizes smaller than my working needle. It doesn't have to be 2 sizes smaller, it's just what I had handy. And I'm going to make sure that I get each of these stitches onto my needle, my spare needle. And again, you want to make sure you get each stitch because you don't want to drop any stitches when we remove the waste yarn. And I just have a small sample here, about 20 stitches, just for this tutorial. Okay. I've got them all on my waste yarn. I'm sorry, my spare needle. Now I'm going to remove my waste yarn. I'm just going to do that by snipping the first row of waste yarn in a couple spots. I'm just going to pull those out. Okay. So I've got this row of stitches on the spare needle, a row of stitches on the working needle. I'm going to fold the spare needle to the back and arrange the 2 needles so that the stitches are near the tips of the needles, ready to be worked. Okay. Now, to knit these stitches together, we're going to insert my working needle through the first stitch on the first needle and the first stitch on the second needle. And we're going to knit those 2 stitches together and slip them both off the needles. Okay? First stitch of the first needle, first stitch of the second needle, knit those 2, whoops, knit those 2 together, slip them both off the needles. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way across. The last stitch here, same thing. Oops. Put away my spare needle. So now I've got the brim of a hat that is very stretchy. And that's it. You continue in your pattern.